out whether they're good people or not. There's no question in my mind that I'm going to be able to go in and identify Donald Trump as a good person. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's not true. I don't think I even know enough about some of these other politicians to identify whether or not they're truly good people. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, why he says something like that when he doesn't know in the middle of a pandemic, like, I'm commonsensical enough to tell you that that's stupid. You don't do that. You just don't say it because you're implying something that you already know the left media is looking for something to run with. Why would you say something like that? To me, he self-implodes on just really dumb things. And it's like you already have half the country in your corner. If you want to influence the other half, you can't do it by fucking saying stupid shit like that. That doesn't – it makes me really – it's cringeworthy. Sometimes it's like, this is what I got to vote for. I have Joe Biden, the pedophile, and then I have, you know, this guy who brags about grabbing pussy, which, again, I'm going to go ahead and go and say, like, I don't doubt that these people in the Hollywood elites are grabbing people by the pussy. I guarantee you that shit exists. Why he would think it's cute to brag about it to the public, I don't know. But, again, you put him up against Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, you're literally putting in Bill Clinton, who started the whole Me Too, or should be the core of the Me Too movement. The dynamics are amazing. Like, I'm not even sure how there's a winning scenario if this is the kind of politicians that we're going to be, you know, given. Like, you know, who am I supposed to root for? Well, I'm just going to be selfish then because, you know, if you think about socialism in general, like, unless people are going to be incredibly non-selfish, how would that ever work? How are you ever going to make a system like that work in America where, you know, how are companies ever going to stay where they are if things work the way they are right now? And I'm not trying to say everything right now. It just, those systems won't work in the economy that we have currently.
Yeah, I think you make a good point because, I mean, like I've said this before. I mean, we have our idea of our system of government, and yeah, our system of government works, and thank God it's worked for as long as it is. But God, man, it's like it's almost even outdated because I mean we're running on these old tenets. And this is what we're getting. It's almost like garbage in, garbage out. You know, we're not attracting. Something's happening. Something's wrong because we're not attracting the best and the brightest to the office of the presidency. You know, I mean, like even hell, I'd take somebody like an Elon Musk, even like somebody who has this incredible amount of genius, ingenuity, or something that wants to. I mean, a lot of things Elon Musk does, I'm not saying that does everything for altruistic reasons. I mean, he's a billionaire. But he does do a lot of things that he just, like, releases the patents to the rest of the world. Like, here's my technology, approve on it. Like, where are these people? Why are we not attracting these people to leading the government? Even what we talked about beforehand. And I wanted to mention this when you said something like, people who are in power have that responsibility to not use that power. We were talking about the pedophile rings and stuff, you know, that these people are using their power for, you know, for bad reasons, right? So same type of thing could be said too. Like the rest of the world is kind of following the playbook that America has written as far as meddling in elections, building empires, things like that. And while I would say that we may not be as bad in some of our human rights type violations and stuff as some of these other countries and things, we've learned from the Bible, you know, is that if you are in a leadership position, that's also a servant type role too. And that if you have that power, that you do have a responsibility to wield that power with some type of compassion, and that I'm not saying that you always do everything for the most altruistic reasons, but that you have a responsibility to not be draconian with that. And then I think that what bites us in the ass as Americans is that I think that we had the world, at one point we had the world behind us where the world believed like America's this great they do all these great things, and yeah, they may mess up a little bit sometimes, but it's way better than what we have going on now. And I think that perception has changed because I think that we've taken advantage of that trust from the world too much at this point, and it's going to continue to snowball until things get worse and worse and worse. I mean, China was one of our biggest allies for years and years and years, and now look at where that relationship is.
Well, so just to kind of start on that, like, I totally agree. I feel like maybe we had an impression in our minds, and maybe that's what's kind of worn off, but you always felt like your leaders were servant-type leaders or civil servants, and their goal was, yep, I got wealthy on the system, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time and I'm going to go help the people. Because I guarantee you that's exactly what a lot of right-wingers think of Donald Trump. He's our savior. He's going to restore America. He's going to bring us back to all these good things. I do believe on the surface a lot of his agenda. I'm okay with it, but I don't believe of him as a servant-style leader. He's absolutely doing this for his own ego. He shows it every day. I don't know how we get past that. I don't know how we can, move to a better position. From an America, world vision, I think it is kind of alarming that now we probably get laughed at a little more than ever before. But I think in a lot of ways, we've exposed ourselves as not being perfect. I think the wool is off their eyes. I think they're well aware that America is not perfect anymore. But I think it's a tough road for us to follow at the end of the day of being a world leader and at the same time, accommodating some of these other world leaders as like a China or a Russia, because maybe China and us were allies, as you just said, and I think it was kind of quiet allyship. At the point, their military would have been a lot weaker. Their economy really needed us, so they were really rolling out the red carpet literally for us. To come into China so they could, build our products. And we openly did that and pushed a lot of great profits to the bottom line for some of our, companies that decided they were going to produce internationally. And I understand the world economy you keep alluding back to. I appreciate that. But if you think about it for yourself, your kids, the next generations, look, I love people around the world, but I definitely want America to be strong. And there is some general belief that in the 80s and 90s, into the 2000s, that we pretty much gave away our economy to some of these other economies for the trade of pretty much being hoodwinked. I'm sorry, but Barack Obama for 8 years didn't do anything to bring us back. Yes, he brought us to a recovery that at the end of the day, it didn't matter who signed that, our economy was going to recover. That was a mortgage bubble bop that whole scenario we were going to come back either way. So we've continued to come back until, coronavirus hits. I'm not sure how you assign blame or credit for the economy, honestly. Is it Trump's economy? Is it Barack Obama's economy? Is this George Bush's economy? For all intents and purposes, they wrote the paper for TARP. He just didn't sign it. Barack Obama signed it when he got into office. So I'm not sure, I say he's the architect of our recovery, but he gets a lot of credit in the liberal media. It's hard to decipher where we go when there's so many influences trying to pull us in different directions. There is no true, like you just said, let's just go back to it. Like, you have all these people who are rich and wealthy. Why don't they want to be in the government? Probably because they don't want to be exposed for being shady. They know all their dealings are going to be exposed, so they don't want to do that. We're a capitalistic country where all of our top people, they just want to make as much money as possible. They have nothing altruistic about them. They just want to. They're greedy, and that is the downfall of capitalism. Let's be real, is greed. And as long as greed prevails, then that's where corporate citizens are probably a little too powerful right now. But socialism, what do you know, brings on more corporate citizens. So we just got to be more realistic about what we want to do for the people. But right now, I'm pretty sure that most of our influence is lobbies, as the guy that was on before, and those lobbies drive a lot of the rules and laws that get passed in our country. And as long as that's the way, where it's corporate citizens driving the entire agenda, I don't know how things really improve. In that case, it makes me want to be very selfish.
No, I agree. And And look, I don't think there's ever going to be like a perfect system, but our government is, I mean, the way our government runs, it's very, I don't know, it's very patchwork. I'm not saying that lobbyists and these other companies and stuff don't have a role to play, because a lot of times the way that the government works is that, not necessarily the government, but regulations, is that as problems occur within certain industries, what the Fed comes in and does is says, listen, you guys need to figure out a way to regulate yourselves, or we're going to regulate you, and you won't like it when we regulate you. It's kind of like when your parents come and they tell you, like, you need to clean your room or else I'm going to clean it, and all this stuff's going in the trash. So this is something that the tattoo industry is actually going through right now, because it's interesting, because I was listening to these guys talk about it who actually run a number of different conventions and are involved. Tattoo ink is actually not regulated by any type of FDA, anything like that. In fact, tattoo ink, the way it gets around it is it's actually printer ink. Now, these companies are obviously making tattoo ink. They have brand names and stuff where they're making tattoo ink, but technically it's printer ink. So there have been situations where there's been bad ink that's been left in a warehouse for God knows how long, and some tattoo artist who didn't know how to check their ink to make sure whether it's bad or not, where people have gotten deathly ill from getting tattoos because of rotten ink. One of the big things is that tattoo artists, you need to smell your ink and check and make sure it's still good. But one of these situations happened in, I think it was Michigan, and where some lady died from it, and the FDA was coming in and they were trying to, or the Fed was coming in and they were trying to trace the problem, and it was tattoo ink that was being made in Canada. Well, now it's an international problem, and when they tried to hold that company to blame, they were like, whoa, we sell printer ink. So I don't know we sell it to whoever, and whatever they decide to do with it, they decide to do with it, but we sell printer ink. So the Fed really started coming down on the tattoo industry and saying, you guys need to figure out some type of organization, a way to regulate your industry, or else we're going to come in and do it, and you're not going to like it when we do it.
So, Bo, I can't say I can solve all this thing. I think a lot of our conversation leads me to say why I want a small government. It's 11:58, so I know they're going to cut you off in like 2 minutes. I want to tell you, I appreciate you having me on. Let me kind of keep you for the last 90 minutes. Thank you for letting me have my execution song and your living wall and all your good magic cards over the years. And
fuck the living wall.
I figure we can hash this again when Trump says something else really dumb. I'll call in and we can talk about injecting Lysol. Okay?
Oh yeah, man. Well, thanks for joining us, Steve. And ladies and gentlemen at home, thanks for listening to the Dapper Baboon Show. We did have a couple people in the chat room. I was chatting back and forth. It added a few things. So that's definitely, we have a chat room. Probably should mention that more often. But if you like the conversations that are having, you can look us up at Dapper Baboon on Facebook. There's some video there. There's going to be more content in the future, especially after we start getting away from this whole lockdown. So just from me, Dave, everybody who's part of the show, everybody's part of the Third Eye Political Network, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week. Peace.